Don't play with it, don't be dishonest. Ay, still not understanding.
My family, who is extremely homophobic, ended up kicking me out and replacing me with my best friend. My family is absolutely awful when it comes to topics about the LGBTQ plus community. Literally any mention of it and they get extremely upset. Which sounds like they're suppressing something to me, but I had a friend that we can call Katie and my family absolutely adored her. Every Christmas they would buy her presents, she would spend family movie night with us, and they honestly treated her like she was the favorite daughter. So one day I made the decision to come out and I decided to talk to Katie about it. She was literally so supportive and so respectful that I gained the confidence to talk to my family about it. Bad idea. Hell striked and they immediately kicked me out of the house. So I found myself on a schedule of switching from couch to couch at different friends' houses. One particular night that was really hard for me, I decided to go visit them. I was missing them and also hopeful that they might accept me back in. And as I approached the house, my best friend was over there. She was playing games and doing family movie night with them, and so I decided to knock on the door. I burst into tears and went off on all of them. The absolute audacity. Later, my best friend texted me saying that she had a secret. Follow my Insta.
Storytime about how my boyfriend got my best friend pregnant. So a little background information, I was around 16 or 17 at this time and I was in 11th grade. And I met my best friend, who we're going to call Jasmine, whenever I was 9. We met through our moms because my mom worked at a detox hospital and her mom, Carol, was a patient there. And Jasmine has a brother who we're going to call Zane, who's a year older than us. Well, at the start of 11th grade, I was not popular, but Jasmine was. In my art class, I had met this kid who we're going to call Warren. Warren wasn't popular at all, and he was super shy, so we hit it off. Well, fast forward, in the middle of the year, I joined the lacrosse team with Jasmine, but I was super upset because I felt like we were drifting apart. Now, Jasmine had a lot of boyfriends. Me, on the other hand, the only kid that I liked was Warren, and we started dating. But it definitely felt like Jasmine had a thing for Warren because she would flirt with him all the time. And whenever I asked her if she did, she said that I was overreacting because I was on my period. Like, okay. Fast forward to our last lacrosse game of the year, our school decided to have a sleepover, like for part 2. Part 2 about how my boyfriend got my best friend pregnant. So like I said, after the last lacrosse game, we were having a sleepover for the 11th and 12th graders. And Jasmine and Warren didn't have cars, so I drove them. But I'm not gonna lie, I was a little bit thrown off. Because Jasmine showed up in this mini skirt and this tiny tube top. Meanwhile, it's like 55 degrees outside. Well, fast forward, I go and walk down to the bathroom and then I see Jasmine coming out of the boys' bathroom with her skirt partially unzipped. So after she walks away, I go in there and I see Warren zipping up his pants. Of course, whenever I confronted him, he denied it. So then I asked Jasmine, and then she casually said that they had been hooking up in the bathroom. Fast forward a little bit later, I get a text from her saying, "Emergency, I think I'm pregnant." So I go to her house and she tells me that the baby's Warren's. So I smack her and then she tries to fight me, but I'm not a fighter, so I ran. Fast forward, somehow Zane and I start dating. Fast forward, the one day I'm at his house, and out of the corner of my eye, I see Jasmine running towards me, about to jump on me. So I move out of the way, she lands on her stomach. Then we see a ton of blood and she goes to the hospital and she lost the babies. Storytime about why situationships are the worst. So a little background information, it was the summer before my sophomore year in college and I was 19 years old and I've been talking to this guy who we're gonna call Brent. Now Brent and I have been talking for 3 months and at first everything was perfect. I really thought we were on the road to a healthy relationship. But then after the first month, everything went to shit. Every other week, he would become super distant. And when I say every other week, I mean it was like a set schedule. He would stop answering my text messages, stop returning my calls without any explanation at all. And then randomly, a week later, he would be like, "Sorry, I was going through some things. And I love the relationship that we have, and I wouldn't ever want to put any of my problems onto you." And he would constantly give me false hope of us being in a relationship. I must have been in a trance or something, because when it came to this man, all my common sense went out the window. Like for part 2. Part 2 about why I hate situationships. So like I said, Brent would always give me false hope of us being together. He would always be like, "Right now it's just not the time. I want to make sure that everything's perfect." And I'm thinking, okay, but like what's not perfect right now? If anything, things are getting worse. Fast forward, the one day I get a picture from one of my friends of him and some girl sitting at the bar. And this just so happens to be one of those weeks where he was being super distant. So then I asked my friend, "Why did you send this to me?" And she was like, "Well, they've been acting like they've been in a relationship all night." So of course I do my detective work and I find her Instagram and I DM her and ask her if she knows Brent. And she DMs me back right away and she's like, "Yeah, he's my ex-boyfriend." So then I end up telling her about the situation. And she goes, "OMG, I'm so sorry. I come home every other week to take care of my grandma and usually him and I will spend the whole time together." So then she ends up confronting him about it. And then I get a text message from him and he was like, "I don't want to do this anymore. I realize that I'm still in love with my ex-girlfriend and I really want to try to get her back." So then I realized that he's literally been using me to distract himself from his ex-girlfriend the whole time. Story time about how I found out that my boyfriend was cheating on me with his homeboy. So a little background information, I was 18 and in my senior year of high school. I met my boyfriend Kevin in our junior year and then we started dating our senior year of high school. We had a really good relationship and we would talk almost 24/7. We would text each other all throughout class, we would call each other every night, stay on the phone for hours. We would even skip classes together and I thought that we were deeply in love. The only time that we wouldn't hang out was whenever his best friend needed him. Like he would skip dates that we had planned and stuff like that. And I honestly just thought that he was being a good friend. But my best friend Taylor suspected that he might secretly be gay and cheating on me with his best friend. And I personally thought the only reason why she thought this was because his best friend was openly gay. But I didn't believe this because him and I were also intimate with each other. But then I started noticing some really weird stuff. Like the one day while we're sitting at lunch, Kevin and his best friend are sitting next to each other and I see them holding hands under the table. I asked him about this, he said it was because his best friend had social anxiety. Fast forward, the one time we're all at this party and I saw them kiss. Like for part 2 about how I found out that my boyfriend was cheating on me with his homeboy. So like I said, the one time I see them holding hands under the table and whenever I asked my boyfriend why he was doing that, he was like, oh, it's because my best friend has social anxiety. And I'm like, okay. And then fast forward, we're all at this party and I see them kissing. And when I confronted him about it, he was like, oh, like we just like to play pranks like that sometimes. And I believed him because I really didn't think that my boyfriend was cheating on me with his homeboy. So fast forward to his birthday. I wanted to surprise him, so I went to his house, and to my shock, I see Kevin hooking up with his best friend. And when I confronted him about it, he was like, no, like, I swear I'm straight, da-da-da-da-da. I'm like, bro, why are you lying to me? Like, there's no reason to lie anymore. I caught you. So at that point, I literally just left his house and I blocked him, and I even begged my parents to let me move schools because I was so embarrassed. And from now on, I learned to not trust guys who are too close to their friends. Like, any guy who chooses their friend over me now is sus.
Storytime about how I unintentionally almost drowned my sister. So a little background information, I was 8 years old and my sister was 5. And during the summer, my sister and I never really got to go swimming because pool memberships were really expensive and my family did not want to take us to a public pool. So every summer we would go to my grandpa's house so that way we could go swimming. But he lived like 2 hours away, so we would only go there once a summer. And since we only got to go swimming this one time, we would usually be in the pool 24/7. So fast forward, we're all at my grandpa's house. And I finished my dinner first, so I run outside and I put my sister's floaties on because I'm pretty sure that mine actually popped. Now, quick thing, we were allowed to go into the pool without floaties on if we stayed in the shallow end of the pool because we couldn't swim for shit. Anyway, so I put her floaties on and I go to the deep end and she comes outside like a bat out of hell and she starts screaming and crying. And being the big sister I am, I'm just swimming around, ignoring her, enjoying my time in the pool. Like for part 2. Part 2 about how I unintentionally almost drowned my sister. Like I said, I have her floaties on, I'm in the deep end of the pool, she's screaming at me, telling me to take them off, I'm ignoring her. And then what does her crazy ass decide to do? She decides to get into the pool and try and get them from me. Now, my sister was super tiny. Like, even being in the shallow end of the pool, she really couldn't stick her head above the water. Now, I'm pretty sure that all swimming pools are like this, but there's a slope that goes into the deep end and it's super slippery. So she comes over to try and get the floaties from me and then she slips. It was literally like a cartoon where the cartoon characters are moving their feet backwards really fast. And I thought that she was just joking around, so I'm just sitting there staring at her until she actually starts choking, and then my dad hurries up and runs outside, thank God. I feel like dads just have superpowers to know whenever their kids are in trouble. Anyway, so he jumps into the pool and he saves her. He ends up spraining his ankle, and I wasn't allowed in the pool for the rest of the weekend. Now, of course, this had me pretty pissed off, but now that I'm an adult, I can see